Today we have with us Michael Montoya from Constant Contact. He is the channel enablement and training manager for Constant Contact. And what that really means is that he teaches us and informs us about the things we should be doing and shows us how to do them. And that's why I'm looking forward to seeing where this conversation goes today. So Matthew, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. There are a lot of various different statistics around about where real estate business comes from, but the one consistent statistic that I see year over year over year is that upwards of 80% of a realtor's business comes from their sphere of influence and from their referrals and sphere of influence and people that they know. I've been tracking this number forever. So it used to be 72%. NAR does, in the National Association of Realtors, does a study every year about where business comes from. And if you really, look at that report, it used to be 72%, then it was 76, then it was 78, then it was 80%. Last year was 82% of a realtor's business. So as more and more technology is in our consumers' hands, as more of it is available online, the interesting thing that's happening is that the customers are engaging the realtor that they know and trust, who has been recommended or referred by someone. And the majority of it isn't referrals. The majority of it's just customers that realtors that the customers know and trust, and that they've engaged with on a regular basis. Because there's a lot of conflicting information that's out there on the internet. So sometimes it's confusing because one website says one thing, another website says the opposite. One website says a property's for sale, the other website says it's not. In reality, it's not for sale. And so it's confusing, like what's really going on out there. So that's why, again, I've seen in the last couple of years, customers returning or turning more and more to their agent as the trusted real estate advocate. And so, one of the best things that you can do as an agent is really to culture or to nurture and cultivate and engage a database, a sphere of influence, a past customer list. You can go into, all kinds of groups, but, to really engage all these different your customer base on a regular basis, and to be relevant, to be top of mind, to be, engaged regularly, I guess, with those customers. And so that's basically what Matthew's going to talk about with us today. So Matthew, didn't mean to give a long introduction. It's just I'm very passionate about that because, sometimes agents, they just want to, they keep looking at other different little shiny objects, but when it really comes down to the tried and true best practice in real estate is just to engage your customer base and your sphere of influence.
I could take what you just said and stop, because you're saying exactly the most important piece of email marketing in real estate. It's all about relationships. It's all about relevancy. It's all about staying top of mind. It's all about your sphere of influence. That's how you make money using email marketing. I've been working for Constant Contact for 10 years. And in my 10 years, I've traveled the country. I've spoken to approximately 15,000 people, many of those agents. And, the funny thing about email marketing, is email has been around now for, 30 years. Right. And I like the use of shiny objects. A lot of people have seen a lot of shiny objects. Email marketing's still here. Email is still here. Email is still powerful. One thing I encourage everybody listening to do is think about the most used app on their phone. I guarantee it's email. I guarantee you're in email more than any other app. We don't think of it as an app. We think of it as a tool, a necessary tool, right? Everybody is in email all the time. So what does that tell us? Okay, well, our customers are in email all the time. And the trick is over the last 10 years I've been working at Constant Contact, over the last 30 years, we've gotten used to email marketing. People have not thought out the changes that mobile devices have caused in email readership. So when I first met agents, they were building email, and unfortunately some still do it today. They were building really long-winded, complex emails that had 50 different things in it, and we're trying to accomplish too much. And maybe that worked. The idea I want to have in people's heads is the old newsletter, the e-blast, right? Well, thanks to smartphones, that's changed. The average subscriber is only spending about 10 to 15 seconds in an email. And we've got two things we have to consider with that. Firstly, email marketing is a remarkable tool to motivate people to take action. It's a remarkable tool to build reputation, trust, relationship. But you have a small amount of time to do it. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that, one, we undertake email marketing. If you have contacts and you're not using it, you're not building that sphere of influence as much as you can. You're not building your book of business as much as you can. You're not getting the number of referrals that you deserve. But secondly, we want to make sure that if we undertake email marketing, we really consider how much we need to target to make that email relevant to the reader. If the email is relevant to the reader, they're going to come back to the next email and the next email and the next email, and they're going to pay attention. They're going to do the things you're asking them to do.
Or they're going to take action on that targeted email that you just sent them. And that,
well,
they might take multiple action multiple times. If you're emailing them multiple times, if you do it right, they're going to take action multiple times as well, right?
Well, and that taking action is really critical. There's two pieces within the taking action. Constant Contact tracks who clicks on what, right? So that's extraordinarily important in real estate, because knowing what property somebody's interested in, what news, what information, what market information you're sharing, whatever it is you're sharing, knowing that that person is interested in that piece tells you something about that person. The example I like to share is, if I had a piece about schools in a particular area and people click on that article, click on that market information, I now know something about them. I know they probably have kids. I know that they're interested in this part of town. I know they're interested in this kind of school system. That's valuable information to have to target them again, to target them with more information about that. But we also want them to take action. That action is really important, not just because Constant Contact tracks it, but because the email subscriber is only spending 10 to 15 seconds in an email. If they click, that is a deliberate behavior. And now they're making a decision about you and your content. They're making a decision. I want to learn more. I'm going to spend more time reading more, watching more, doing more. And that's where you start to sell them on whatever it is you're trying to sell them. That's where you're starting to sell them on property. That's where you're starting to sell them on your value, on your thought leadership, on your sphere of influence. Getting them to click is where you start to convert them. Now that conversion might take time, but that's where it's occurring.
Right.
The last piece in taking action that's really critical is you're teaching them to take action, right? So given a vertical as complicated as real estate, they may not do what you want them to do ultimately, the first email, the fifth email, the seventh email, but the 10th email, that's where they might finally do the thing you want them to do.
Right.
That's just the nature of the business. Right. So teaching them to open, read, and click, open, read, and click, open, read, and click.
All right,
get
everyone,
them to where you want to get
them. Write that down. You're listening right now. I want you to write that down. Open, read, and click. And Matthew, I've only been working with you a short while here, just a couple months, and I've already learned so much from you. And I just want to be transparent for a minute. I've reframed my own teachings on email after learning from you. And one of the things that I like to talk about is reframing how do you view email almost like a social media post. There are so much, you have a social media post that people are scrolling through their feed. And the whole object of that is to get them to engage them and click on something and take action. And you only have, and if you're just everything you're describing, if we can approach our email from that mindset, that we're going to do it regularly, we're going to do it consistently, we're going to cover multiple points of interest, multiple topics, and try to get them to engage. And so it's quickly pique their interest, quickly get them to engage, take action, and then do that again over and over again on a consistent basis. But do it with email, because you're right. Everyone uses email. I mean, they're in their phone, they're on their iPad or their tablet or whatever, they're on their laptop, right? And they're in email. So
one of the most critical things I teach in that vein, Todd, is, I'd be willing to bet some listeners are doing email marketing, have done email marketing, whether as an agent or at some point in their life. And one thing that end users, people that are doing email marketing, get very confused is the difference between open and click. Now,
Right.
inherently, you all know the difference between an open and click. But when it comes to email marketing, the click is what you must have. The click is what you want.
Right.
Constant Contact will report on how many people open the email. Sure, that's valuable. But open rate doesn't prove really much. It doesn't prove that they, one, even opened it, because a tool like Outlook, a tool like Gmail, that provides a preview, right? You've probably all seen that. That preview counts as an open. Human being may not have even physically opened it. They certainly didn't access the information. Secondly, the open rate doesn't actually tell you they read it, that they took any action. But if you get a click, the click rate is what you want to pay attention to. And that's the ultimate value in a tool like Constant Contact. Because if they clicked it, we know, aha, it was delivered, it was open, because you can't click it unless you open it, and specifically what action they took. That's the critical piece.
Right. Okay. So before we go any further, I got to talk about one other statistic. There's a study that the National Association of Realtors completes where they interview customers in the first, within 12 months of them buying or selling a home. And they ask that customer base, did you love your realtor? Would you refer them to a friend? And the statistic is staggering of, percentage that say, yes, I love my realtor. I would refer them, to a friend. And then they go back and interview the same group of people 5 years later. And that statistic drops all the way down to like 13%. And the biggest thing is they don't even remember who their realtor is. They don't stay top of mind. So, it's all the things you're talking about, but I just wanted to set the stage for how important this is for agents. And if you're going to take one thing away today, I want you to use or try Constant Contact or email marketing in your business. You have to take a look at it again and market differently than you did 10 years ago with email. Market in the way that Matthew's going to tell you today how to use email marketing to get the most effective, but you have to keep email marketing as part of your marketing mix. You can't ignore it. So, Michael, okay, so backing up, set the stage. I've set the stage, all right? Tell us a little bit about Constant Contact and just an overview for those agents that don't know anything about Constant Contact. Tell them what they need to know.
All right. Constant Contact has been in business for 25 years. We are the industry leader in email marketing. We are not just email marketing, we are an online marketing tool. So we give agents the ability to communicate via professional looking, glossy, great tracked emails, but we also provide a variety of other online tools. But I want to zero in on the email tool because that's going to be the most effective immediately out of the gate for agents. And what we don't want anybody doing, but certainly not agents, is spending a lot of time with wonky technical issues. And so we've made an editor that basically, if you can type an email in Outlook, you can build an email, but you can make it look glossy and professional. But if I can get a little wonky on your audience and share a little bit of information under the hood, the real reason a tool like Constant Contact exists is to not only provide professional looking marketing, but to get your email delivered. There's actually laws in place that prohibit people from doing solicitation for business via a tool like Outlook, via a tool like Gmail. And so the ultimate reason a tool like Constant Contact exists is to keep people on the right side of the law, to provide bulk solicitation for business in a way that is in line with the law. Because what the law says is that if you're going to solicit for business, and let me define that for a second. Soliciting for business isn't just an overt discount or the kind of thing people usually think of as solicitation. It's any interaction where you're asking for business. Any, okay? If you're going to use a tool like Gmail, Hotmail, etc., you must by law give people a way to unsubscribe, and you must be able to track the unsubscribes, and you must be able to track the people that receive the email. You can't do that through Outlook. You can't do that through Gmail. So, I mean, the wonky answer to why does Constant Contact exist, what do we do? We want to make it easy for people to market. We want to make it easy for them to communicate, stay top of mind. We want to make it easy for them to track who's interested in that marketing. But we also exist to keep people on the legal side in check.
Right. Well, and additionally, you have a phenomenal technology base that you used a keyword to get your email delivered. Managing how an email is looked at and viewed by someone's inbox, with server ratings, and there's things called whitelisting, blacklisting, where people, if they don't do things correctly, their email will never get delivered because they did something wrong. And so your technology really makes it so that the emails don't have those technical barriers that block it before it ever even gets to the inbox, because of the way that your technology, your servers, the IP addresses, the things that you manage, it all works ideally to result in optimized email delivery. That's just from my point of view.
Absolutely accurate. And I mean, it goes beyond just algorithms and technology. We even have a team of human beings who monitor this. I mean, the reality is, because Constant Contact's been in business for 25 years, because we have a sterling reputation within the industry, meaning that Gmail, Google, Microsoft, everybody trusts us, they know us. And the reason they trust us and know us, and it kind of comes back into being trusted as an agent with your audience, right? They trust us because they know we do our job. What's our main job? Getting the email delivered and keeping bad actors out.
Right.
They know we keep bad actors out, so they let the email go through, because the ultimate point is, if you're going to invest in a tool, no matter how inexpensive it is, and we certainly have a great offer with you guys, but no matter how inexpensive and easy to use the tool is, if it doesn't get delivered, what's the point?
Right.
What's the point, right?
Exactly.
And so we have a wide variety of ways to make sure that not only are you staying in the letter of the law as far as doing email marketing, but getting that email delivered in the first place. We're the industry leader in it.
Right. So you did just mention that we have a great offering with Constant Contact, and you have worked with the HomeSmart team to create an amazing offer to the agents. So I guess, could you just hit that real quick? I mean, for agents that log in, HomeSmart agents that are listening, you can log in right into your Real Smart Agent panel, which you use every day to create your transactions and manage your transactions, manage your business, manage all your marketing, and access your tools. Well, we have a section in there called the HomeSmart Marketplace. We don't have very many companies and resources in the marketplace. We only want the right, most effective tools and resources for you to use, as well as the tools you should be using, but we also want them to be at a discount or at a great price so that you can maximize your marketing budget. And if you click into the HomeSmart Marketplace, you will see a Constant Contact right there. You can watch a brief little video, you can see some brief information, and you can sign up with Constant Contact. But tell them about the offering, Matthew. I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, I'm going to actually frame the answer without just saying it directly right off the bat. Firstly, I want everybody to understand the potential in all of your contacts, right? The potential, I think this is preaching to the choir. I think everybody listening, that each contact represents either a former or current client or a lead, right? And what that lead is going to equate to in dollars for you. We're talking significant money for just one purchase, for just one referral, for just one repeat business from somebody, right? Constant Contact has worked out the most incredible deal for you guys. It's $15 a month. $15 a month. Now, if we go back to that one contact gives you a referral. That one contact buys with you. That one contact re-engages with you. It's way more than $15. I mean, I know this sounds very salesy, and I'm probably coming off a little television sales host guy here. But $15 to use the power of a tool that can help you continue your sphere of influence, build your book of business, we're giving it away.
No, that is an amazing price, and you're not being salesy at all. You're just speaking the truth, candidly. And let me put it in perspective for everyone. So that's what, $180 a year, I think. Mm-hmm. Right there. And on a $225,000 home sale, average commissions around $6,900. So one transaction would pay for Constant Contact for multiple years. So my challenge for the listening audience, number one, is avoid your expensive $5 coffee for 3 days in a month, and take that $15 that you would have spent on coffee and put it to Constant Contact, put it toward a program, then invest a couple hours, a week, or just, simple and easy, but schedule it on your calendar just to make that part of your marketing mix. And I would bet you money that you would get your ROI back, and you're going to get more than one. You're going to get a significant amount of business by engaging your sphere. So I don't mean to sound salesy. I just want the agents to be smart with their money. I want them to set a marketing budget, but I want it to be on the right tools. And in my mind, this one's a no-brainer because everyone needs this email marketing capability.
And if I can harken back to what you brought up with the statistics from the realtor agency, that of getting those referrals and being trusted. One thing that we take seriously at Constant Contact is building trust with you. And one way we build trust with you is you're actually listening to it right now, or you're viewing it right now. And it's inherent in my title. So when Todd gave my title earlier, and training was in my title, Constant Contact invests in our customers, and we're investing in you. It's not enough to have an easy to use tool. We'll teach you how to use it. But we won't only teach you how to use it, we'll teach you why to use it. And the why is the critical piece. Because if you want to make money at this, you have to understand why you should undertake email marketing. And we've talked a little bit about that today. But why to use this feature? Why to use that feature? Why is this important? Why is that important? We take seriously equipping our users to understand the why. Because when you understand the why, that's where the money's hidden. That's where it's at. And that's why I loved how you led things off, Todd. You're talking about that sphere of influence, about building trust. And I think you said that about 3 times. We're probably preaching to the choir here. I think everybody hopefully knows how important trust is to an audience. But with email marketing, building that trust is so easy to do because you're communicating regularly in front of them. You're sharing information that's useful. You're establishing yourself as a thought leader. You're establishing your sphere of influence. And when they're ready to take action, when they're ready to do it, what you want them to do, they trust that you have their best interests at heart.
Right. Okay. So if we could, let's cover 4 quick little topics here. Let's cover number 1. How to get started. You upload some contacts, you create some groups, you go in and you hit the library, which already has templates already in it. Like you just click on one and then you select a group, you send it. So give them a quick overview of that. Then let's talk about relevancy.
Okay.
And now they've got it. They're starting to use it. Well, how do you stay relevant? How do you know what to say? How do you be I guess the third thing would be targeted, to personalize things, to segment into those different groups. And then I guess the last one would be, staying focused on one simple message versus creating an email with 40 topics in it. Staying focused on one thing, back to our original discussion of almost like a Facebook feed or social media when they're scrolling. Have a message and get them to take action. Maybe get them to link to your website. Get them to click on that listing, right? And instead of just viewing the listing in the email, we want them to actually click on the listing and engage with you. So that's kind of what I had. Give them an overview of using it. Let's talk about relevancy. Let's talk about targeting, and let's talk about focusing. And so, keeping it simple to get them to take action. So if you're writing that down, notes for the audience, what to do, how to get started, overview. Relevancy is point number 2. Point number 3 is be targeted. And point number 4 is, be focused, keep it simple.
Well, you said it right off the top. So, I'm going to answer the question directly, and then I'm going to add just a little bit of color to it, because getting started, you get your Constant Contact account. We're going to actually contact you and guide you through any questions you have.
Will you help?
We'll actually reach out to you.
Will you help them import their contacts, or
if that's what they need? Yeah, we'll actually contact them. You'll have a coach contact you, and hey, how are you doing with this step? How are you doing with that step? So, uploading the list, if you can click a button and find an Excel file, you've uploaded the list. That's the relatively easy part. The next part is to choose a template and start putting in your content. Like I said, if you can upload an image, if you can type, If you can copy and paste text, you can build the email. But I want to talk about the more complex answer, because the complex answer isn't terribly complex, but the best first stop, the very best place for them to start is actually taking a step back and thinking about their list, doing their best to look at their book of business and of their list and say, okay, this group of people belong in this group. This group of people belong in this group. This group of people belong in this group. And that could be geographically, that could be income, that could be just information you know about them. You want to break them up into these segments, because if you break them into the segments before you even upload, you're already ahead of the game. Because now, and we'll take things simply. Let's just use geography. I think that's an easy one for everybody to wrap their head around. If I have information about where a contact either lives or where they've shown interest, and I create smaller buckets of people based on, let's just use 4 zip codes, boom, now your question about relevancy becomes a little more clear, right? If I'm going to be putting in listings, I'm going to, again, keeping things simple, you'd probably want to do this more complexly, but just for the sake of the listener, 4 zip codes, then there's 4 emails right there, right? 4 emails based on 4 zip codes. Each email has listings around 4 zip codes, or market information about 4 zip codes, or relevant school information, whatever it is. 4 emails. I send those 4 emails out. That's targeting, folks. That's segmentation, and that's targeting. It's that simple a concept. Now, the reality is there's lots of ways you could cut your list up, but you want to think about it in terms of, is this going to motivate them to take action? If you cut your list up into a way that, well, okay, would this help me provide valuable information? Then yes, that's a segment. But when you're actually building your email, and you can talk to your coach about this, and ideally, I think we're going to try to do a webinar together where I can show it to you. When you put a listing, an article, some thought leadership, whatever it is you're putting into your email, all right, we've already established that we really need to link it. When you link it, there's a feature in Constant Contact called click segmentation. And click segmentation is the magic. Click segmentation is the secret ingredient, because what that does is when somebody clicks on that listing, when somebody clicks on that article, Constant Contact will automatically put them into a segmented list for you. So if I have 3 properties in my email and somebody clicks on this house worth $1.5 million, boom, I could put them into my bucket for people that fit that profile. And now I'm able to send them information that would be relatable to them, that would be useful to them. If I share information about a school system and they click, automatically, boom, Constant Contact can put them in a list of contacts that are parents, right? That's the secret ingredient, because now Constant Contact's helping me segment and target. By segmenting and targeting, I am able to continue to send more relevant information. Now, the last piece that you asked about, content volume. I said it earlier. You want to resist the urge of putting everything in the kitchen sink in an email. Right. You really have to, because the sooner, I encourage the listeners and viewers to be hypercritical of themselves for the next day or so. Watch how you scroll through information on your phone. Pay attention to it. If you get an email, now not from your mom or your wife or your husband, but I'm talking about marketing. You get a marketing email. Watch how many times you're willing to scroll through it before you give up. It's usually only about 2 or 3 scrolls at best. Now, put yourself in the minds of your subscribers, of your contacts. If they get an email, especially on their mobile device, and they have to scroll more than a few times, you're teaching them that the emails are relevant. When you teach them the emails are relevant, and this is not a conscious thought, this is just something that happens, you're teaching them that all your email are irrelevant. When you teach them that all your email are irrelevant, they stop paying attention to you. I'd be willing to bet, Todd, right now in your inbox, I'd be willing to bet that every listener, every viewer right now have emails that they have subscribed to from business they love, from nonprofits they've donated to, from sports teams they adore. But they don't even see it in the inbox anymore. It's there, but they don't notice it. And the reason why they don't notice it, the reason why it became white noise, is because at some time they told you that email was irrelevant. They told you that email wasn't worth your time. So the way you don't avoid that is by making sure it's targeted, it's via segmentation, that it's as personal as you can make it, and keep it short.
Right. Yeah, you are so on target with that message. And that's where, again, I keep coming back to reframing my view of email. It's not a brochure, it's a social media post.
Can I tell you the phrase I use a lot? I think it'd probably work with this audience.
Right.
Email marketing, I want them to think of it as a billboard. Okay. Email marketing is a billboard. It is not the destination. It is an advertisement. It is a billboard for the destination. You want them to get a little information and then click as quickly as you can.
Right.
Now, the way you can do that is one thing I see agents do is they'll put a full article in the email, right? No one's going to sit through that.
Yeah.
But if you give them just a snippet, you capture their attention, you build their interest, and then you get them to click. That's how you, one, you keep the email short, but two, you're encouraging them to click. And remember, our goal is to get them to open and click, open and click. And so by getting them just a little bit of information and having them click somewhere else to read the rest, you got a win-win. You're keeping the email short and you're encouraging them to click.
Right.
It's not the destination. It's a billboard for the destination.
Exactly. Okay. So, what are some best practices, I guess, that if I'm an agent listening to this podcast here today, and let's just pretend for a minute that they want to do more with their email marketing next year. What should they do in the next week and in the next month to begin to move toward getting some results?
Okay.
I like to talk a lot of times about scheduling and time blocking, putting time on your calendar. So block out a half an hour to move forward with Constant Contact. Like, so what do they need to do in the next week and then in the next month?
Well, the first thing I want to lean into your comment about time. I think a lot of people look at marketing, and particularly email marketing, as a chore. It's something I got to do. Yeah. I want to reframe that in everybody's head. You want to sit down at the computer and go, okay, time to print money. Is that going to be worth your while? Yeah, that's going to be worth your while. Print money. Okay. So change your mindset. That's the first thing. Two, keep your email succinct. Keep it short. The rule of thumb, if you can, is no more than about 20 lines of text, no more than 3 images. And that's going to be the hard one for y'all. Yep. 3 images, and no more than 3 calls to action or things for people to click on. Now, the reason why I say that's hard is that one other thing I see agents do all the time is they'll go, oh, well, I'm only sharing one property. That one property has 22 images in the email. Right.
Right.
You don't want to do that. You want to find your hero image of that property. That can be from the street, it can be aerial, whatever you think that is going to be the best shot of that property. Yeah. You share that one image and then you link to the others. That way you're teaching them to click and and act.
Here's the thing about that. If they keep it short, their time preparing it is short.
It's also easier. Yeah.
Right. So if you got to add in 22 images, you got 22 more times the amount of time of adding one image, right?
And all you're doing is making your email long and you're wearing people out. You don't want to do that.
Correct.
You want them to click. And that's tip number 2.
Yep.
Remember, link everything. Make sure that image of that property is linked to the listing. I know that sounds obvious, but so many people fail to do that. And when you link it, use click segmentation. I already described that. Make sure, in addition to the image, and make sure you link that image, you use a button. Constant Contact offers a button. Use a button instead of the little blue hyperlink. The reason you want to use a button is that the little blue hyperlink on a mobile device, I'm going to have to pinch, and you don't want people pinching. You start getting them to pinch, you're losing them.
Yep.
So use a button. It's easy for them to click on.
Yep.
Tip number 3. Make sure you don't assume you're right. Meaning, one of the challenges for agents and everybody is writing a good subject line. And what I see is a lot of people use the same subject line concept because it's what they did, it's what they were taught by their mentor, yada, yada. Constant Contact offers an A/B split test. What that means is that you can actually test 2 subject lines and see which one resonates with your audience, your actual audience. Constant Contact will randomly choose, let's say 25% of your audience to receive one subject line, 25% of your audience to receive a different subject line, and whichever one performed best will send the remaining 50% of your list the best subject line. So don't just assume that your subject line's the end all be all.
Go ahead. No. Come back. You keep going to your last point, but I'm going to come back to that one. Go ahead.
My last tip is utilize a feature in Constant Contact called resend to non-openers. Resend to non-openers, the name explains what it does, but it's really important to use that because I'm going to throw it back on you, Todd, and everybody listening. You get emails. You're busy, you're in a meeting, you're showing property, right? And that email is getting pushed down in your inbox, and maybe you just don't see it that day. So what resend does is it resends the email to anybody that didn't open it the first pass. The benefit there is that can increase open rate alone 40% on average. You get in front of 40% more people, guess what? That's more people opening, more people clicking, more people calling, more people buying. Remember, change your mindset. You're not sitting down doing a laborious task that's boring. You're printing money.
Right. Printing money, keep it short, do the A/B test, resend to non-openers, just keep it simple and just do, execute, print money. I love what you're saying. Okay, so real quick, back to the A/B test.
Yeah.
Subject line. Let's talk subject line. The debate comes up a lot about what is an effective subject line, and are there characters that you should use, characters you shouldn't use? I've even seen emojis coming through on subject lines, different little graphic little images, exclamation points, keywords like new, today, only. Like sometimes different spam filters look at different words or different things differently. Do you have some insights for us there on that?
I have so many. We could spend a whole hour on that, Todd. All right. So first, let me talk about some positives. Love them or hate them, you want to consider emojis. Constant Contact supports emojis. It's certainly something you split test with your audience to see if they're effective. But emojis, look, here's the reality about the inbox. If people only spend 5 to 10 seconds in an email, they're only spending milliseconds deciding whether they're going to open something or not. Right. So the main thing with the subject line is not so much to have something that's brilliant and funny, although that doesn't hurt you. The main thing is to have it be noticeable, to slow people down. And the first thing to consider with subject line is not the subject line. The reason people slow down in the first place is you use a recognizable name. They need to recognize that name, because if you think about your own behavior when you're looking through your inbox, you're not likely first looking at subject lines. You're first looking at who sent this to me.
Right.
Then you go to the subject line.
Right.
So make sure you're not cute with your from name. Make sure you're not using something that people wouldn't know. Second tip, the magic bullet. Try to incorporate the words you or your into your subject lines. Those are magic words. You and your, what happens is now you're putting the property in the mindset of the reader. Now you're putting the information in the mindset of the reader. Now it's affecting their lives. It's affecting their pocketbook. It's affecting them. Do you use it all the time? No, but when you can, try to use it. Third tip, try to also use questions. Turn your subject line into a question. A question's a magic ingredient because the only way the question can be answered is by opening your email. So try that. If you have video in your email, I know many of you would utilize video, and Constant Contact supports using video links in the email. If you use video, try brackets. Start your subject line off with a bracket that says video. If you're sharing a white paper or thought leadership, bracket it and say thought leadership or white paper. Try using brackets. Now, some things you want to avoid, and this is going to be tricky. Think about what you see in spam. If it's something you'd see and you'd consider spam, don't use it. And I know a lot of you are probably listening or watching going, well, I would never use a spam word. Here's the trick. There's spam words you may not even think of as spam words. And a tricky one in this industry, mortgage. Mortgage can be considered a spam word. Why? Because guess what a lot of people do? They sell shady mortgages, and that's somewhat blacklisted. So you want to avoid that. You also try to avoid the word property in the subject line. In the body, you can use the word mortgage or property all you want, but you want to watch out in the subject line. You want to avoid being too long-winded. Only about 5 to 7 words. Now, this is a little difficult to explain without a visual, but I'll do my best. In Constant Contact, we have a field that's called pre-header text. And that pre-header text is a little way for you to have a slightly longer subject line. In your inbox, if you're listening and you're not on the road, take a look at your inbox and look at your inbox. What you'll see is the subject line, and right below it, you'll see the first sentence of the email. We've been taught to read that first sentence to decide whether the email's on fire or not, whether you got to open it or not. Well, Constant Contact gives you the ability to change that first sentence into something you want to say and still have the first sentence be the original first sentence. So you want to write some pre-header text. A big no-no around symbols. Can you use exclamation points? Can you use question marks? Sure. Don't use them in a row. Don't go exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. That's a spam behavior, and your email may end up in the spam folder. Don't use all caps. That's spam behavior. You don't want to use all caps. Don't be misleading. I know none of you would do this, but don't ever be tempted to bait and switch. Now, the reality is all of us are trustworthy here and no one would bait and switch, but I've seen some agents bait and switch without thinking they're bait and switching. And the way they're doing that is they're using the old R-E, capital R, capital E, and making it seem like it's a reply. You don't want to do that because that's spammy behavior. Not only is that spammy behavior, but if you're inferring that this is a reply when it's not, you're certainly not building trust with people. The last thing is you want to make sure you, again, test your assumptions. Use that split test.
Right. So the object of the split test the assumptions, is that maybe you send out just as a subject line is, perfect, perfect new listing in your preferred school district. Just hit the market. I don't know, something like that. And then the next one, you send it out, but you don't use the word your. And I think what you might find is, according to what you're saying, your might score higher. So then what happens is 60% of the people open up the one with your, and 20% of the people open up the one that doesn't have it. So then how do you do that? Do you flop it then at that point and resend it out to the group that didn't get the subject line, or to the non?
No, it's actually all automated. So the way that our system works is it'll automatically randomly choose whatever percentage of people you want to set. So I could do a 10% test. I could do a 25% test. I could do a 50% test. It'll randomly choose those people and it will automatically send the winner. Now, what the agents need to do is learn from that.
Right? Oh, gotcha.
Right. So, okay. Wow. Using your outperformed not using your. Aha, guess what I'm going to do in the future? I'm going to use more. I'm going to use your more. Let's flip it and say emojis. You try my advice, emojis flops. You don't get as high an open rate with the one that has emojis than the one that didn't. Okay, well, what's that teach us? Our audience doesn't like emojis. We won't use it again. Try some of the ideas, try your own ideas, test them out, and your audience is going to tell you what they prefer. That's the action you take.
That's awesome. Well, Matthew, today has been amazing. I could go on with you for about another hour or two, but can I invite you back for a future episode? Will you come back and do this again?
Anytime.
And we'll dig in a little deeper. For those of you listening, the podcast audience, send us an email here at the marketing team at HomeSmart. Let us know, what topics you would like us to talk about, or what you would like Matthew to come back and speak to us about email marketing. So send us an email real quick to ideas at what is the email address? I'm gonna have to find out. I want to say I can't remember what the email address is now all of a sudden. So
there's some irony in that, talking about email marketing.
No, it is. Isn't that terrible? That's terrible that I don't know the email I should be sending them to. So anyway, but do let us know. Just call into the main number and ask for the marketing department. Send us an email. So, and I will know this on future episodes. But Matthew, I'd love to have you come back. Some more.
We could probably fill another hour easily. I mean, we didn't even touch automation, and that's a really powerful tool. We didn't.
Well, let's do that.
How to help grow your list. There's a lot of things we can do there too. So
can we just do that? We'll just do that right now. We'll put that on the calendar, and we'll do a future episode on automation, email marketing automation with Constant Contact, and we'll just. Awesome. So be on the lookout for that episode coming, and Matthew will get that scheduled.
Can I tease something really quick, Todd?
Sure.
With automation, folks, there's a piece of automation. We have a couple of different ways to automate your email, and it comes included in Constant Contact with the deal. We swing with you guys. But there's one particular email that can be automated. It's called the welcome email. When somebody joins your list, it's triggered, sends out that welcome email. That is the most valuable email you'll ever send, but I'm going to only teach you why when we meet back up next time.
I love it. Now we have to get this on the calendar soon so that we can do this right away. So audience, do keep a lookout for this for the future episode, and Matthew will explain why that's the most amazing email you'll ever send when we talk about email automation in the future. But I hope that you all have enjoyed today's episode. I certainly have. We did cover a lot of ground, and I learned a lot. So I'm sure they did too. Matthew, thank you. Thank your team at Constant Contact for all of us here at HomeSmart.
Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody.
All right. And so agents, go click into the HomeSmart marketplace, click on Constant Contact and get moving, and then dig into the system. And then when we do our next episode on marketing automation, you'll already be a power user by then.
There you go.
Dig into that automation. So, all right. Thank you all for joining us today on this episode of the Real Estate Podcast. I'm Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart International. We hope that you have an amazing next couple weeks in your business, and we look forward to seeing you back on future episodes. Thank you all.
Like what you're hearing on The Real Estate? Tell your friends about us. Tell them to check out all of our episodes on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. And don't forget to send any topics you want us to tackle to therealestate@homesmart.com.